This morning, the House passed the bill forcing the release of the Epstein files by a staggering 427-1 margin, with only Republican lawmaker Clay Higgins ensuring that he is on record protecting those who are implicated in a pedophile ring. But with all eyes now on the Senate, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has made this announcement.
And I urge my Republican colleagues, let the Senate act today. And so, I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate receives H.R. 4405, the Epstein Files Transparency Act from the House, the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration, the bill be considered read 3 times and passed with no intervening action or debate, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there an objection? Without objection, so ordered.
The Senate has now passed the Epstein bill as soon as it comes over from the House.
Meaning that this bill is officially passed by the House, passed by the Senate, and going to Trump's desk for his signature. Trump, for his part, responded to the passage of the bill in the House by posting, quote, "I don't care when the Senate passes the House bill, whether tonight or at some other time in the near future. I just don't want Republicans to take their eyes off of all the victories that we've had, including the great big beautiful bill, closed borders, no men and women's sports or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, biggest tax and regulation cuts in history, stopping 8 wars, rebuilding our military, being respected by every country in the world, having trillions of dollars invested in the USA, having created the hottest country anywhere in the world, and even delivering a huge defeat to the Democrats on the shutdown and make America great again." Now, there was no mention of whether he would sign it in that post, but he had previously mentioned that he would be willing to sign this bill if and when it got to his desk.
I'm for I don't, they can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much because, honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time.
So that's Trump saying that he will sign the legislation if it makes its way to his desk, which we now know it's going to do. Now, if you ask me, I would imagine that Donald Trump said that thinking that this bill would have been gummed up at some point, certainly in the Senate. In fact, Mike Johnson was making the case to do exactly that, to get the Senate to change this bill and delay its passage by saying stuff like this.
From the very beginning, our side has been insistent that this matter must be handled very carefully and with utmost caution and care for the victims. We want maximum transparency. We have always been about that. We want every single person who had any scintilla of evidence that they were involved in the Epstein evils, they need to be brought to justice, and it should have been done a long time ago. We need to find out who those people are. But in the meantime, you have to remember there are real people's, innocent people's lives at stake here, and young victims who don't want to be dragged into this political game because it could hurt further what they've already endured. They would be made to suffer more harm if Congress is not careful in what we're doing. And unlike our very important work that's underway in the House Oversight Committee, the Democrat-led discharge petition would carelessly dump thousands of documents without proper protections for the innocent.
Now, the response to that, of course, is simple, as evidenced by Ro Khanna during our latest interview. Can you speak to the concern that was raised, although I'm certain that it was raised in bad faith, by Mike Johnson, where he did this pearl clutching routine that it wouldn't give adequate protection to any of the minors or the victims?
Well, first of all, that's not true. The way you know it's not true is that the survivors' lawyers helped us with the bill.
Yeah.
So, we're doing what the survivors want. The survivors are coming to the Capitol on Tuesday. We're having a big conference. If they were opposed to voting for my bill, they would say so. They all want us to vote for the bill. That's the biggest, the dispositive fact. And of course, the bill protects the identities of victims. Even the speaker at this point sees he can't stop the parade, so he's getting ahead of the parade. I mean, he's scheduling this vote for Tuesday. He wants this thing over with.
So if the goal here is truly concern for the survivors, as Mike Johnson claims it is, who should we listen to? Mike Johnson, who unilaterally has been instrumental in blocking the release of these files for months, even going so far as to adjourn the House early to prevent members from voting for the legislation? Or the survivors themselves, who supported this bill as it's written? Take all the time you need with that one. And by the way, while we're on the topic of Mike Johnson pretending that he's helping after serving as the principal impediment to this accountability and transparency, take a look at what the survivors themselves, who were in the House chamber, did once the bill was passed. This is a photo of survivors on the House balcony cheering on the passage of the bill. Does that look like a group of people who are upset that they're not adequately protected by the text of this legislation? Not exactly. So again, Mike Johnson is just playing make-believe because his goal here is expressly not transparency, it is feigning transparency while at the same time doing everything in his power to prevent transparency. This is textbook gaslighting. He is pissing on your leg and telling you it's raining, which would be bad enough unto itself, disqualifying enough unto itself for this guy to gaslight you to your face. But to do it on this issue is frankly just fucking disgusting. To pretend that he is some champion for transparency when it comes to women who'd been trafficked and raped, when he was the single biggest impediment to that transparency in the House, is a level of shamelessness, of depravity that I cannot even wrap my head around. In fact, here's Robert Garcia, the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, explaining exactly that during our latest interview.
I think it's clear that Mike Johnson is covering for the White House. He's now complicit, I believe, in all this. Today, his comments today, somehow saying that, oh no, this is all being handled and that we're playing, gotcha games. I mean, give me a break. We're putting out information that is quite serious. And I wish that Mike Johnson, who looked survivors in the eye when we had him here in Washington, D.C., I was right next to him when he was talking to survivors, and he promised you to get to the truth. That's not what he's doing.
And this isn't the only issue where Mike Johnson's purported God-fearing branding has been in conflict with his actions. I asked Gavin Newsom about the speaker when he was pitting sick Americans against hungry Americans during this latest shutdown.
But you started that question
with Mike Johnson.
With Mike Johnson.
Right, the most pious man in Washington, D.C.
Like that word, pious. It's a good way to describe him. Who's competing for bullshit, bloviation, and lies with Donald Trump. It's extraordinary what comes out of his mouth. Increasingly, it is beyond the pale. This is the indecency of a man of faith, of someone that literally, he read the same Bible I did. You look at Isaiah, you look at Luke, you look at Matthew, you look at Proverbs, Old Testament, New Testament. One of the central themes in the Bible, essential themes. It's not a suggestion, it's about the alignment to the Almighty, to God. It's a question of hunger and food. No decency, sir. Disproportionate number of people that will be impacted in his home district, let alone his home state.
So am I surprised that Mike Johnson went down swinging to suppress these files until the very last minute in blind deference to Daddy Trump? Not at all. And frankly, if he wants his legacy to be that he tried to prevent transparency for a pedophile ring, you know what? That's going to be between him and his God. The issue now, then, becomes Donald Trump's signature on this bill, which could happen as early as tonight, or it could not happen at all if Donald Trump chickens out and conjures up some new excuse as to why he shouldn't release these files. But I can tell you one thing for certain. The pressure on Trump after a 427-1 vote in the House and a unanimous vote in the Senate is much higher than anything he could have anticipated leading up to this day. So this might be the point where finally Donald Trump is forced to concede defeat and sign a bill releasing the Epstein files, files in which he himself is implicated. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.